Told you guys I'm gonna try and do more affordable product reviews, or at least showcases or something. We'll talk about it. I found this. The Amazon Basics 24-inch AOC 75 Hertz IPS panel that costs less than $100 US. So I started asking myself, who would want this panel? Probably people that are on an extreme budget. 24-inch seems to be about the right size monitor for most people. Personally, I like 27, but it's 75 Hertz, not super high, but it's better than 60. Adaptive refresh rate, which I guess is just FreeSync, but they don't say FreeSync on there. And we'll take a look at it. There's a lot of reasons why someone might want a second panel, and it costing about $100 or a little bit less might be the perfect excuse to finally get one on your desk. NZXT's BLD is a quick and easy way to get a new gaming computer. Build a gaming PC on your budget using the built-in configurator, which now includes Intel's 14th gen CPUs featuring faster cores with increased core counts and speeds up to 6 GHz for an overall better gaming experience. Don't want to build it yourself? Then choose from BLD's pre-configured player PC systems built with performance and various budgets in mind. To see the full lineup and specs of the NZXT Build Player Series pre-built PCs, follow the sponsored link in the description below. So as always, this is not a sponsorship from Amazon. This is me spending my money on random searches in Amazon to see what the heck I could find. Now the reviews on it were actually pretty decent. The model number, as you can see here is a 24E2QA. Whatever. It doesn't really matter. So it's a collaboration between AOC, which is a very known brand that has both like high-end esports type monitors all the way up to like 280 hertz or 60 hertz or something, or 360 hertz, something like that, all the way down to like super basic, like it displays an image, what more do you want from it kind of a deal. And I feel like this might be a good middle ground for finding more than 60 hertz, although 120 would be ideal. 75 is still a very noticeable difference between 60 and 75. That's 25% more frames per second than 60. And anything above 60 starts to look really smooth versus 60. Now 60 is good enough for most people, but having more than 60 is gonna be a nice thing for many people to have. Let's say you're doing Twitch streaming and you desperately need a second monitor to monitor chat and see your stream OBS status and all that sort of stuff. So this would be a perfect panel for that. 24 inches doesn't take up a lot of space on the desk. But the fact that it's IPS means it's not gonna look like crap. I mean, the fact that you can see TN panels would cost more than that for a long time ago. It's nice to see IPS technology come down. Anyway, let's go ahead and open it up and see what we got right here. It's pretty light. I'm not expecting a whole lot in terms of build quality, if you will. I think it's just gonna look like a basic ass monitor, nothing real exciting to talk about. What I also think is interesting is the fact that it has HDMI display port and a VGA port. We get an HDMI cable. It doesn't say which HDMI it is. I'm assuming it's probably just gonna be a 1.3 or something like that. Oh, they do have a 27-inch model as well, the 27E2. So that if you want a little bit bigger panel, they do have that. It's not giving me response time, and that's what's really bothering me, because it doesn't matter if it's a 1080p panel at 75 hertz. If the response time is like 20 milliseconds, that's gonna make it a ghosty mess. So we're gonna be using the UFO website that shows a little UFO going across the screen to look for things that might be artifacty or just gross. Okay, vertical stand, base. So far it's toolless. Oh, the base just mounts on the bottom. So it's probably gonna be a little bit on the wobblier side rather than the mount being in the center of the panel. Oh, and taking a look at the inputs on the bottom, you can see very basic. The VGA is even blue, like the old VGA color. But we got DisplayPort, HDMI, and VGA, and then you can see our power plug and our audio jack. Ha! It's not very heavy, as you can kind of see, okay? If weight equals quality, then this isn't looking too good so far. But I don't care about that. It was less than $100, and we need to see whether or not it gives us a decent enough image. There's one stupid little thing that keeps me happy when it comes to monitors, and this one does it, and that is front-facing buttons. Because so many high-end monitors these days are trying to look bezel-less, even though they'll advertise like near borderless, and then there's still like 5 millimeters worth of panel underneath the panel layer that is not edge to edge. You might not have a plastic bezel, but you still have it not going to the edge. They've omitted a lot of the bottom thickness, which means the buttons are either on the bottom or on the back. But now you can see exactly which button you're pressing. So that's a nice thing to see. You do have some tilt. Looks like we got probably about 10 degrees. About 10 degrees of tilt back. Maybe like 3 to maybe 5 degrees tilt down. and then obviously up and down. It's a very faux aluminum-y finish. And like I said, because it's on the bottom, it's very wobbly. And it's very plasticky. Build quality aside, if it's just designed to sit on your panel or on your monitor arm, which as you can see, you do have the 100 by 100 base mount on the back. If it displays a decent enough image, then that should get the job done. If you want to go vertical like this for like a chat screen or something like that, or a Discord panel or whatever, I've seen people on their setups now with our setup reviews have a panel dedicated to just Discord 100% of the time. You would need a monitor arm to do that because it doesn't obviously rotate on its mount. Okay, let's get this hooked up to my laptop and see what kind of image we get. Okay, so I'm gonna stop right here because at this point, plenty of you probably already noticed like 99 bucks, that thing is actually kind of expensive for what it is, and you're right. Because if we go into Amazon and we look at the actual like AOC listings, this is essentially the same monitor right here, but at 100 hertz, and it's advertises 8 millisecond response time. So I was guessing between 5 to 8, there we go, it's like just about right in the middle, for 79 bucks. I also mentioned the fact that there was or maybe I haven't mentioned it yet, I don't know, we're inserting this video because we realized like, crap, this is actually not a good monitor for the price. The $150 for the 27 inch, AOC also sells a $99 27 inch version of this. So if we kind of scroll through here, here's a $109, 180 hertz version with the actual AMD FreeSync. So it's a 24 inch, 1080p, 180 hertz, 1 millisecond for $9.90, technically $10 more than I paid for this one. I just want to kind of point this out real quick. So maybe don't necessarily consider buying this exact one. What I'll do is I'll put some links in the description below of some alternates that I think are better. But anyway, at the end of the day, I thought it was important to kind of point out like, okay, at 99 bucks, it seemed like a good deal. I did not shop around well enough, and I never would have thought that actually at a $100 monitor that I could find a better monitor for cheaper, initially thinking I was doing a budget video that only showed how to actually waste about 30 bucks or 20 bucks. Hey, look at that, automatically it detected HDMI. So it has auto detect which signal is active for the inputs there. It's not very bright. It does have a little bit of a foily effect to it. I think it's just the quality of the LCD panel itself. But yeah, it doesn't have color shift as you go off axis angle, and that's obviously indicative of a IPS. Okay, so our luminance here, select that. Select that. Okay, that's a pretty big adjustment for 5%. We were on 95 and now we're on 100. Look, each click is a pretty significant drop in brightness. And then it goes very much not responsive. So like 0 to 90. And then you can see the moment we hit 90, it's really, 90 is like, so 91 through 100 is like 1 to 10. And then you get some fine adjustment under 90. That's why I guess it was at 95 by default. Okay, so this is again, their like preset picture qualities for like different types of games, racing, gamer 1, gamer 2, gamer 3, off. So like FPS, it kind of brightens up all the shadows and stuff so that people can't hide in the shadows. RTS, I don't know why RTS would be completely washed out, but it is. Like real-time strategy, I guess again for maybe people trying to hide in bushes and stuff, like in League of Legends. Anyway, racing, this is a bit more punchy on the colors. Gamer 1, Gamer 2, Gamer 3, and then off. I kind of like the way Gamer 2 looks, to be honest. So I highly recommend using this website if you guys want to test your monitor capabilities. So it's called testufo.com, and basically it gives you like half your native refresh rate or whatever your panel or your desktop is set to. Okay, and then it halves that frame rate and then halves that frame rate again so that you can kind of see what the ghosting looks like. So that's why the 19 FPS, and remember, you're looking at this on a 30 FPS video too. So you've got to just try and look at what's happening in front of and after the UFO. But you can see on the 19 FPS how jittery it is. Here's a perfect example as why people like high refresh rate monitors, because obviously the more frame rate, the smoother the image is. But what I'm looking for here right now on the UFO is you can see that there's blurring, which tells me there's actually quite a bit of blurring, which tells me that's probably not the fastest response time when it comes to this particular panel. So what the response time mean is, how long does it take for that pixel to turn on and go dark again? Now they measure it in gray to gray rather than off because of the fact that there's always backlight, which means that you're never gonna get perfect black. Now they can measure black to black on OLEDs, but not on backlit panels because of the fact that it never actually goes full infinite contrast, which is black. So they measure gray to gray. Most gaming panels people really strive for is under 5 milliseconds. They advertise 1 millisecond, but there's a lot of marketing mumbo jumbo where a lot of times 1 millisecond really is like 3 or 4. I have a feeling this is probably gonna be somewhere in between the 5 to 10 millisecond range, which again, I don't think is terrible for most people. They may not even notice this, but because we've looked at so many high-end gaming panels that are down into the 1 millisecond frame rate, or response time, it becomes pretty noticeable. So I want to come back now and check the overdrive. This is where overdrive is supposed to actually help with the amount of blurring and stuff that we're seeing. What we really want to see is the blur be behind the UFO. But what happens is if you overdrive, oftentimes you'll see the blurring and the ghosting start to appear before the actual UFO. And what will tend to happen is you start to get over sharpening as well, where a lot of the stars, and the reason why these stars are here, is you'll start to notice artifacting in the stars when you turn on a lot of overdrive features in monitors. So it's really hard to tell. As I increase it, I definitely get a sharpening. So that's just an example of what the actual performance of the monitor looks like. Again, we're asking a lot of a sub $100 monitor to care about. Would be extremely picky when it comes to refresh rate, but if I were to do this on a high-end gaming panel, you would notice like the UFO would be a lot less blurry. It'd actually be more sharp as it's moving across. That's just because of the fact that it's also a 75 hertz panel. So I'm gonna do Fire Strike non-extreme, like old school title, just because I want to push as many frames as I can on an older test to go above the 75 hertz to see what happens with screen tearing. High-end panels, even when you exceed their refresh rate, tend to do a really good job at not tearing. And the reason why they tear is because the screen is drawn, I should say horizontally and diagonally at the same time, in these sections like blinds. And then when screen tearing happens, it becomes desynced, where it looks like the image was just kind of split apart in this kind of a grid pattern. Now, higher end panels are really good at keeping that from happening even when it's higher than its refresh rate. But if we end up doing like 200 frames per second on a 75 hertz panel, sometimes that's just way too much information too fast and tearing can occur. So I want to see what will happen right here. But because I'm on my laptop, I need to make sure I can push enough frames, so that's why I chose an older test like this. It's actually not bad. And you know, Phil and I were looking at this off camera right now. The colors are pretty good. You know, they're punchy, more punchy than you typically find on IPS, but I sort of pushed up the color punch anyway. I have no idea. Oh, we're at 140 FPS, so we're nearly over 180 there. We're over doubled the FPS of this panel, and I'm not seeing crazy tearing. Now, there's not fast motion happening here. That tends to be where you'd see the tearing. If I were in there free looking, like moving the mouse around real quick, that's where you would notice it. I really just have to lower, I think, my expectations of what I want a $100 monitor to be able to do. And so far, I think it's doing a pretty darn good job at giving us exactly what it is we want it to do, which is give us an image that doesn't look like crap, that has good viewing angles, that has an okay-ish refresh rate. 75 hertz, it's an odd number, but it's not terrible. It has adaptive sync, which realistically is probably just FreeSync without the name FreeSync on there, because that's technically an AMD thing. From a reputable brand, AOC in collaboration with Amazon Basics. So that just means that it's built for Amazon to put Amazon's name on. And that means it's gonna have all the Amazon guarantee of like hassle-free returns and all that stuff. And I know this sounds very Amazon like sponsored, but it's not. I'm an Amazon customer. A lot of my crap is from Amazon for this channel. So I know what it's like to have to return something every now and then and have it, this is a CPU test, so this doesn't matter anymore at this point. But I know what it's like to have something have to be returned, and it sucks to go to like Best Buy or Target or Walmart or whatever and deal with their return policies. This one here, you can do it all easily online and have it picked up and taken back, and you get your money back pretty much the moment they receive the package. There you go, guys. If you're looking for something on the cheap, actually no, this also makes a perfect panel for like a kid. Maybe a kid that's still like, they have a gaming PC, but maybe it's a basic PC and you don't want to spend too much money on something they might not be super kind on. And a $100 monitor, geez, unless you're gonna start shopping scratched up, used, refurb, Craigslist stuff, you're gonna have a hard time finding a panel this good for this price, I think. Anyway, I'll put the link down in the description below. Keep your eye on it. If it comes back in stock, I think you should grab one if you're looking for a second panel that doesn't need to be super high end. And because it's Amazon, I highly doubt they're gonna go in there and like start adjusting the pricing based on people buying things. I think it's just the price is what it is. So, all right guys, thanks for watching. And as always, we'll see you in the next one.